What are the costs that are prohibitive for you?
Well, at the moment, it's just the inflation of everything, all the prices going up right the way across the board and making it very difficult for us to continue. So,
Years ago, and for several years, I was a landscape gardener, and I also used to do garden maintenance. And I used to do garden maintenance for an old chap who lived in quite a opulent area on the outskirts of Manchester. He retired, and when he retired, he sat. He got in a chair, in an armchair in the living room, and he sat there, and I used to do his garden. I used to say to him, "Why don't you come out and help me in the garden, just get some fresh air?" And he said, "No, I hate gardening." And I'd see him through the window, and he'd just be sitting there, just staring at the television, with his arms across the arms of the chair. And I used to say to him, "Make us a brew and come out for a chat then." And he said, "No, I don't want to." He said, "I hate retirement. Everybody says retirement is great. It's awful. It's not what it's cracked up to be." And he just sat there and sat there. But not for very long, because I went one day and his neighbour came out and told me he died. And I'll tell you something. I think he just died of sitting there. He died of being sedentary. He died of having nothing to do. He died of having no interest. He died of giving up. All his life was his job. And once his job had gone, that was it. There was nowhere left to turn. There was no mental stimulation. There was no reason for him to get out of bed in the morning. The only reason he probably got out of bed in the morning was to unlock the gate and let me in. And he died. And it was very sad, because I lost a customer and some income. Now, the point I'm getting at, we're going to talk about hobbies, the importance of hobbies, the importance of when you do hobbies, when you start hobbies, what hobbies, and how really important they are. Hobbies have kept me sane. I've had lots of hobbies. I did knitting. I'm a bloke and I did knitting. I knitted this hat and I knitted this scarf. Okay, they're getting very tired now, but I knitted lots of things. I knitted mostly hats because they were simple. I did scarves. I did the odd sweater. And I still do occasionally. I've got all the stuff there. I've got balls of wool. Sometimes it takes me a while to get back into it, but it's great and it's relaxing and it's something to do when you've got a free minute rather than just sit and stare. I make jewellery out of pebbles, wrap them in wire, and that's great. That's another great hobby where you can just spend an hour or two and come up with. I think with me, if I have a hobby, I have to have something at the end of it. I have to have something tangible, something to hold on to at the end, to look at, to show people, to give away. I've given a lot of my jewellery away to people, and that's very, very nice. And when I meet up with some people nowadays, they've got it hanging round the neck, and that gives me a buzz. I used to sit in the sun with my little wire and my chain or my leather to make the necklace, and make designs, and I'd wrap these stones just like you can see in the pictures. And it was great, and it was a hobby. It still is a hobby and gives me things to do. I've always been into photography. I started work as a darkroom technician when I was 17. I play the handpan, I make music, mostly handpan, hand drums, percussion. I was always a percussionist. I played in bands as a percussionist when I was a kid. And I also have a Bandcamp channel where I've put my music. It's all quite simple, but go and have a look at it if you want. And the fact is, what I'm saying is, it's great to have a hobby. What do you do at weekends? What do you do in the evening? Most people are knackered. They come home from work, sit on the couch, have the tea, stare at the telly, go to bed. Your weekend, pretty much the same, except you do your shopping and probably a bit of housework as well. And you have a bit of an hobby, and that's great. But a lot of the time you spend just doing nothing and not stimulating yourself. And it's the getting up and starting doing things that is the hard part of all this. The first step is always the hard part. I'm obsessed. When I get something in my head, an interest, I'm like mad. I research it like mad. I go crazy and I read everything, I watch videos, I spend a fortune on the stuff for it, but at least I get a great deal of enjoyment out of it, and these are things that will last for life. And I think hobbies, in this world where we're being bombarded by wars and crime and bent politicians, it's important to escape. And it's escapism, because when you're doing a hobby, the chances are it's all consuming. So you're in the moment and you're enjoying it in the moment. I will knit, and then I'll pick some pebble that I've found and polished up, and I'll do half an hour wrapping a nice little piece of jewellery. And then my handpan's always there. I'm always playing. My handpan's just downstairs. I just sit on that and play for hours at a time. So I've not got time to sit on the couch and stare at the television. Having said that, yes I do, I watch a lot of YouTube, so I'm lying. But I also have a lot of hobbies, and it's important for your mind. It keeps you stimulated, because if you don't stimulate your mind, I think you get dull. It needs to be going, it needs to be ticking over. Apart from anything else, what about this? We've got a huge upsurge of Alzheimer's going on, and I'm one of those. I do believe that keeping your mind stimulated fends that off. Oh, there's a kestrel sitting. Is it a kestrel? Yeah, there's a kestrel sitting in the tree right in front of me. It's got its eye on Molly. Molly's a bit too big for it. But yeah, things like that keep your mind stimulated. Just like reading does, just like anything does, just like taking long walks does. Because when you take long walks, I've spoken about this before, you think you're taking a walk and your mind blanks, you're just walking. But you're not, because you're taking in the land around you, you're appreciating that. It gives you time to think without anything going on the periphery. You know, there's no phone going off, a telly in the background, people knocking on the door, voices in the background, cars going past. It's just you and nature, where you can just solve your problems, where you can think, and you naturally come down and plateau out. And I think all this has got to be good for your health. It's got to be good for your mental health and physical health. But hobbies, get a hobby. It's so important. Some people have hobbies that last them for life, but I've got a short attention span, so I tend to pick things up, go at it like mad, and then pick something else up. But I always keep things in the background to go back to. Well, that's great. I'll probably find something else tomorrow. The only thing that's been a constant is photography, I think. I've really just been a keen photographer for the last 50 odd years. That's why I've got a house full of bloody cameras and lenses, and I bought another lens the other day. I'm murder. We're out in it today, we're out in nature today, like I say, and it's a beautiful morning because it's very, very, very still. There's a cloudy sky, but there's blue coming through it, so it's very thin veil of cloud. The sun coming through. All the leaves are coming out on the trees now, so there are some trees that are still bare, but a lot of them have got leaves on. And the leaves are that vibrant green that you get in spring. Beautiful before they dull out in the heat of summer. And all the colours flatten out. And it's quiet and all I can hear is the bird song. And there aren't many people out walking dogs this morning, which suits us absolutely fine. And it's beautiful. I've kind of come out this morning and I can tell you, this is how I feel. I came out, I got in the car, we've parked up, I've come out, we've been out for about half an hour now, and I feel different than I did half an hour ago. My heart is like, not beating, but it just feels full. I've just got this fullness. It's just such a fabulous feeling. I could just stand and look round for hours and never tire of it. Hobby, hobby, hobby. Think about it. Don't just think, because a lot of people will sit at home and harumph and sit in a chair and go, I'm bored. And they think, you know what they're thinking? And I was thinking all weekend about going back to work. That's what they're thinking. Even on a Sunday, they'll think, oh my God, I've got to go back to work tomorrow. Whereas if you're doing something, if you've got a hobby, and don't then get knitting. Do you know what? A lot of the best knitters in the world are men. There's two blokes on Facebook, I think they're called Arno and Carlos, or Carlos and Arno, and they're this men, like middle-aged blokes. Bloody hell are they good. I mean, absolutely amazing stuff they produce. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about being macho man. Get your knitting out. It's fantastic. Painting. A friend of mine went to one of these little one-off lessons, and it was about painting with acrylic. And she came back and showed me a photograph of what she'd done, and it was the first thing she'd done. It was bloody gorgeous. It was fantastic, and so that now has fired her up to do more. So she will do more, and that can be a lifelong passion. It was a lifelong passion for my father. My father was a great watercolour painter. Get a hobby. Get some wire and a pebble and learn to wrap it. You go on YouTube. There are videos out there telling you how to do it. And on that happy note, because it is a happy note, because it's a happy day, nothing to complain about today, no rants today, life is a good place today, it's great. And it's a great day and it's a great life. I'm coming up to 70 and I'm so at peace. Never thought I'd say that with a turbulent life I've led. But I'm finally, in my final years, I've become that person I've always aspired to be. A man at peace in the countryside with his dog. Beat that with all your lottery wins. We shall see you on the flip. Peace and love.